How's it going, everybody? You know who it is. My name is Sanwoo, and in today's video we are going to take a look at the 4MS company's Shaped Dual EnvVCA. As the name implies, this is a dual envelope generator with one channel here and the other channel being here, as well as a VCA with inputs here, and it has a shape control for the rise and the fall. First, let's start with the basics. I'm going to explain this on envelope A. Envelope B is basically the same apart from these outputs here, but that doesn't matter right now. So we've got the cycle button here, which lets you cycle the envelope in order to create an LFO. We can turn this off if we want to send manual triggers into here, like this. And then we can trigger the envelope this way. But for now, I'm going to cycle it. Then next up, we've got the level of the envelope. With this, we can decide if we want to go all the way from 0 to 10 volts with the envelope, or just from 0 to 5 or 2.5 or whatever. Or if we want to have a negative envelope that can go from 0 to negative 10 volts. And again, everything in between. But for now, we're going to turn it positive again. Then furthermore, we've got the offset. That means from where our envelope is starting. Right now, it's always starting from 0 volts. But if we turn this counterclockwise, now we're going from -5 to +5 volts about. And we can go all the way down to -10 volts. Now it's going from -10 to 0 volts, or we can also turn it higher. And now we offset it to the maximum. We're basically just clipping the waveform there. But let's say we turn the envelope's level down. We can have a positive voltage that starts above 0 volts and then goes a bit higher. So already these two knobs very powerful in order to shape your envelope or your LFO and get a nice modulation for your patch going. I turn the offset back to 0 and turn the envelope up all the way so we get this basic triangle again. Then we've got the rise and fall section here with these two sliders which change the rise time. So now the rise is getting slower and slower, as well as the fall time on the other slider. And these switches up here define the overall length of these sliders. So basically, if I switch this to fast, we turn it into an oscillator. And now even if we turn it to slow, our rise and fall times are as fast as they were on the slow setting turned up to the fastest setting. And then medium, of course, is somewhere in between. We still get an oscillator if we go all the way to fast. But if we push these sliders to the slow setting, we get a much slower moving modulation. So there is quite a lot of range in how fast or how slow these envelopes can go. I don't have the numbers right now, but you can go into self-oscillation for sure. And if this self-oscillation is not fast enough for you, you can get them to oscillate even at a higher pitch. And that is done with the time input right here. So the time input, let's turn this off for a second. The time input can change the rise and fall times with incoming CV voltage. So now I'm going to send a constant CV voltage into the time input from my Hikari A10 mixer. Turn this to self-oscillation again. And because the rise and the fall time potentiometers here are turned to the left, that means as I increase the incoming voltage, the rise and fall times will decrease and therefore the pitch will get higher as the envelope is getting shorter. course, we can also do it the other way. So with a higher incoming voltage, the rise and fall times will get longer, and therefore the pitch of this oscillator will get lower until you can't hear it anymore. And we can also do it in opposite ways. So now the rise time is getting longer as the voltage is higher, and the fall time is getting shorter as the voltage is getting higher. Maybe not as extreme. And as you can see, these lights nicely indicate in which way we are modulating the rise and fall times. And next we get to the feature that distinguishes the shaped dual envelope VCA from the dual envelope VCA, as well as the envelope VCA, which is the shape slider here. This shape slider changes the slopes of the rise and fall time from exponential to linear to logarithmic. So with this you can get a lot more plucky sounds going, as well as whatever you want to call these sounds right here. But it's very nice to have another parameter that modulates the shape of your modulation as well as your VCA. And on top of that, you can even modulate what's going on with the shape slider here using this input. Again, I'm going to use a voltage from the A10 mixer. So now because I've set it to the right side, as I am increasing the incoming voltage, the slider will be moved to the right. So it's basically just the same as if I moved the slider by hand. But of course, I can also attenuate the signal and do it the other way. So now as I increase the incoming voltage, the shape slider will go to the left. And of course, we can also do this with another envelope, for example, and create some more chaos with this. So we get a lot more interesting shapes this way. But now let's have a look at these different outputs right here. For now, we've only used the main output of envelope A, which, as you saw, is reacting to shape, as well as the level and offset parameters right here, which is how it's supposed to be. But this output right here, the linear 5-volt output, is different in that if I plug this in here, you'll see this waveform only goes from 0 to 5 volts, and it completely ignores the shape slider, so it always moves in a linear fashion, and it always ignores the level as well as the offset control. So no matter where I set these, it will always go from 0 to 5 volts. But it will still react to my rise and fall time changes, so I can make the rise shorter. I could make the fall time even longer. And so on. So this is very nice to have a second envelope generated with your main envelope that you can send somewhere else. It's not as intricate in its controls, but it still can be very useful. And next up, we've got the OR output, which compares the main outputs of envelope A and envelope B and will output whichever voltage is the higher one at the moment. So let's turn envelope A positive again. And you can see that we get a mixture of these two envelopes. Let's turn this one slower maybe. So just another way to get more complex envelopes shape and combine these two envelopes in a very easy way. Okay, now let's check out the VCA. I'm going to send the output of the VCA into the oscilloscope and send the Godspeed oscillator into its input. Let's slow down this cycling envelope a little. And we can also now turn the cycle off completely and send triggers into the trigger input. So what you're going to hear now is the endorphins Godspeed as an oscillator being processed by this VCA here. Let's make the rise time fast and the fall time a bit slower. Let's also turn it up a little bit. But actually I'm too lazy to trigger this by hand, so I'm going to take the end of fall output from the envelope B and have it trigger my first envelope. A bit slower. And now we can shape our VCA or our envelope that is opening the VCA to get very plucky sounds. Or this kind of sound. As you can hear, it gets very clicky if the rise time is at its fastest setting. But if we turn it down a little bit, it's not as clicky anymore. Let's make this a bit slower again. And let's get to this switch, which is right now only an attack and release envelope. If we switch it down, we have an attack, sustain, and release for as long as the gate is held. Or we can cycle this envelope for as long as the gate input is held. So right now it's cycling this envelope really fast for as long as the end of fall gate is being held. So as you can tell, lots of options there with the ability to change the type of envelope we are producing. And if you wanted to, you could even use the VCA separately from the internal envelopes by just sending a signal into the VCA CV input. And now this allows us to open up the VCA using a voltage from another device and use the envelopes separately from the VCA. So I could just open the VCA from here now. Which is pretty cool if you want to use them independently from one another. And next up, let's take a look at the follow input. This input will listen to whatever CV voltage you input here and will make envelope A try to match its voltage. So if the incoming voltage at the follow input is higher than what envelope A is currently at, envelope A will initiate its rise phase and try to rise to the same voltage. Same if the voltage is lower on the input than it is on envelope A, it will initiate its fall stage and try to fall down to the same voltage. And we are going to test this out with the output of envelope B, which first I'm going to put into the oscilloscope and then mold into the follow input of envelope A. So first we're seeing envelope B, and now we're going to see envelope A trying to match what's coming into the follow input. If, however, I slow down the rise time of envelope A, what you'll see is that envelope A will get lower and lower. And that's because it's rising very slowly, and before it can even rise very high, envelope B is already lower than the current state of envelope A, and therefore the fall stage of envelope A is already initiated, so it never even gets really high. If I make it even slower, we will barely even see envelope A doing anything. If I make it faster, we will more closely match envelope B. And of course, this is just a very simple demonstration of how to use it. Of course, combined with all the other settings and modulations, this can get a lot more complex. Anyway, that's it for this quick tutorial on the Shaped Dual EnvVCA by the 4MS company. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I would appreciate a like, a comment down below, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss the next video. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, have a wonderful time. Peace.